Hey friends, Gene Perry here, Free Hands Academy, and welcome to the second edition of Stick Talk. This week I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Polycarbonate Chapman Stick. And so I'm helping my friend David Jones do a little bit of a refurb on his Polycarb. And I talked to Emmett recently and he gave me a little history on the instrument. And so I thought this would be a good topic for this week. And there it is, $21.95. You'll notice the squared headstock and that there's no dual flaps. It uses the bridge screws. You'll also notice a little discoloration there at the first fret, which can be touched up with a little black auto paint by Stick Enterprises. The Polycarb predates the X fret, so this is a 34-inch scale instrument, which apart from needing strings also needs to be cleaned, which will be happening in a future episode. And so this instrument has the full 2 octaves, just like its more modern counterparts. And here on the stick up, you'll see that there's a little bit of rusting on the bridge screws, and that will be touched up in a future episode. I'm slowing it down to get the bridge in focus here because you'll see that it does not have the metal bridge. Predated that. Here's a kind of a profile of the Polycarb. And I'll get this focused and zoom in a little here. And if ever you've wondered what a fret rod looks like, well, there you are. So the fret rods replaced the jumbo bass frets back in the mid-'80s there. So this was a big improvement. Some cats still prefer rods over rails, which are now the default. If you look real close as we kind of scroll down the instrument, you'll see that there's a seam there. And that seam tells a story, and that is basically the fretboard itself was a separate structure. And so after it was molded and created and kind of cut more finely, it was placed on top of the main structure and adhered to the instrument. There's 4 screws on the back that held it in place to make sure that it had a nice tight fit. And even if you feel for the seam along the side of any polycarbonate instrument, you probably won't be able to feel it. It's very finely cut. This instrument needs to be cleaned. It's been said before. As we scroll down the last part of the instrument here, past the stick up, you'll see also that the bridge position here is also a separate piece. I'm pretty sure the Polycarb introduced kind of that little butt there, so it could rest on its bottom side there without actually resting on the bridge. Here's the back side of the Polycarb, and the first thing you'll notice is that big screw in the back of the neck there. And those were used to affix the fretboard piece to the main structure while the adhesive was making its bond. And so at 4 different positions along the back of the instrument, you'll see these screws. They're about a foot or so apart. There's a great article on stick.com on a cat that did a Polycarb refurb with beautiful images, and he had a truss installed, and so I highly recommend that. And that's, again, professional work you'll want to have Stick Enterprises do for you. At the back of the instrument here, you'll see the 2 screws that were used to affix the bridge piece to the main structure. And if you have a legacy instrument that had a metal bridge installed, as I did on Paduke number 130, you've got 2 holes right there in the back of your instrument as well to affix the bridge to the main structure. And there it is. So in between the base of the instrument and the end of the fretboard there is the stick up. So this required a second structure be added. So you can see the seam there where this bridge position piece was affixed to the top of the main structure. Here's a little bit on the belt hook. This instrument has one of the older plastic injection molded belt hooks. And so I slow it down here so you can get a better look at it. It's only got a single fixed position. So as this piece evolved, Stick Enterprises added multiple elevations, 4 on the side closest to the instrument and 3 on the side closest to the user. So you could adjust the height of the instrument and get a more comfortable fit. Here's a side-by-side comparison of the Polycarb with a 36-inch scale Paduch 10-string instrument. The first thing you'll note there is there's no X fret. And so you're going to see that the dot inlays and the linear inlays are slightly offset. Also on display here is the difference between rods and rails, if ever you've wondered. In a moment here, I'll also show the differences between the more modern belt hook, which has the multiple elevations, 3 closest to you and 4 on the side closest to the instrument. In speaking with Emmett about the Polycarb, it was interesting to hear the learning lessons that he had along the way. It really was an imperfect element at this length, and so it was a bit fussy to work with, but he definitely managed to make it work. The ultimate kind of evolution of the instrument is the railboard, which allows him to have an easily repeatable process, lowering the cost of manufacturing them and allowing him to get them to production more quickly. In this last image here, I just kind of get an overview of the position of the screws for each pickup. The stick-up uses the same positions as the passive 4, although you'll need to have the housing size increased by Stick Enterprises if you want to make that sort of update. Okay, so listen, this is Gene Perry signing off on Stick Talk. I want to thank you for watching. We've got a big event coming up a little later in August, Freehands Academy. I hope that you'll be able to join us, or maybe watch some of the video that we have from that event. Thanks for watching. Take care.